Joining us now for more insight on the bridge disaster is Paul Eisenstein from Headlight.News. He is in the Big Apple for the New York Auto Show that's happening right now. Paul, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure to be with you.
So seeing how this effect is trickling down to those suppliers, what are your thoughts, and also how long could we see this as an issue?
Well, that's an interesting question. Probably going to be up to the National Transportation Safety Board to decide how long it'll be before they clear up the wreckage. They're going to want to be looking very, very closely at the ship and at the bridge, or what's left of the bridge, to see exactly what happened. But they're under extremely strong pressure to clear up that port. As you mentioned, it's a very, very busy port and one of the largest in the United States when it comes to bringing in both finished cars and goods parts. But it's also very important for exports of automotive goods to other countries.
So can you kind of give us an idea? I don't know if you know the specific numbers, but just how many vehicles and ships full of parts are going through here every year?
I don't have a hard number. The numbers I've seen have been changing a bit, but there are hundreds of thousands of vehicles that go in and out through that port. You have vehicles going into Europe and out of Europe. Luckily, a lot of the exports go from other ports. Savannah, for example, handles some of the largest exports of American-made vehicles, BMW products, which are assembled down in South Carolina. Nonetheless, this is a huge impact. And one of the problems is, you mentioned in the early part of the report that automakers are looking for ways to get goods and vehicles out through other ports. And they do have opportunities. They have the port down in Savannah. They have various ports in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. But there are a tremendous number of ships that have already been loaded that are stuck in the port in Baltimore. And there are a lot of goods that have been shipped, if you will, or unloaded from rail and from trucks that are sitting at the port. And then they're going to have to find a way to load those up, maybe back onto trucks or back onto rail to get them to the other ports where they can export them.
There's still a lot of work that has to be done. Obviously, the bridge is destroyed. There's still an investigation going on. So should this stretch on for a little while and those ports are left stagnant, how can this have an impact on the industry in the long term?
Well, in the short term, it may have the biggest impact because, as I said, there's a lot of goods that are stuck on the port, some cases just shipping containers that are at the port ready to be loaded onto a boat. And in other cases, they're already loaded onto a boat. And that means that they're going to be there until that port is cleared, until ships are allowed in and out again. The good news is that a lot of the goods that are out there that were bound for Baltimore, it's possible to redirect those ships to other ports. That said, our economy is, despite some politics, the reality is our economy is booming. There are an awful lot of goods going in and out of various ports up and down the East Coast. And one of the challenges will be to see if they have space where they can unload those ships at some of the other ports on the East Coast. In many cases, you may see something similar to what we saw in California a couple of years ago, when you had ships that were literally parked for miles and miles and miles, waiting to be able to go into some of the other ports before they can be unloaded.
And Paul, how about downstream effects for your average person? If you need a repair, you need a part for your car, or maybe you have an order for a new vehicle placed, do you think your average person might feel some of those impacts?
Yeah, there will almost certainly be impact in the near term. You're going to see some parts from Europe that will not be able to be offloaded from ships. There will be some new vehicles that won't be able to be offloaded. These could involve brands like Porsche, like BMW, like Mercedes-Benz, like Volkswagen, and some of the other vehicles, vehicle manufacturers. In some cases, you may even see ships that have come in from Asia that are going around the Horn that weren't going to unload till they got into the East Coast. And just like the finished vehicles, some of the automotive parts may not be unloaded these could impact brands from all over the world.
And before we let you go, we mentioned that you are in New York now for the auto show. How are things going there?
Yeah. Well, it's like every auto show we've seen over the last year or so. It's a lot smaller than what it used to be, but there's still a couple of major announcements. The Koreans have dominated this show. Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis have all had important products to introduce. Another big thing that happened today, we saw the announcement of the World Car of the Year and various other World Car announcements. And again, we saw that the Koreans came in as the top brands, capturing 3 of the 6 awards for World Car, including the Kia EV9, which was named World Car of the Year.
All right. Well, you're our eyes there at the auto show. Thank you very much for giving us some perspective on these impacts from the bridge collapse as well. Paul Eisenstein from Headlight.News. As always, thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you.